It was Leonardo da Vinci who said that poor is the pupil who does not surpass his master. It's with this spirit that I like to do this video every single month, and I've been doing it for years, showing and showcasing some of the deals that I've presented in my Facebook group that clients have bought, presented in the month of January. We'll go through where my clients have bought, share 9 property deals, why they bought it there, and most importantly, in my opinion, how they've bought it. The whole idea is that you can take some valuable gems and put it to use. Take the next step in your own property investing. I want all of my clients to actually surpass me in their property investing. People make it out that property investing is only for the experts, only for those who have 20 years experience. That is not the case, and I want every one of my clients to far surpass me. That is my success. Let's go. All of these deals have been shared in January on my Facebook group, Australian Property Mastery with PK. There's almost 50,000 people here now, amazing successful investors, many of which are more successful than my humble self. And the clients, most of them have been tagged. They're all verifiable. And clients are buying every single day, some cases twice a day. So these aren't like picked, cherry-picked example. These are just a random assortment of clients who are happy for me to share their deals. Deal number 1, 6.9% high yield Perth property. There you go, we're active in Perth, as everyone knows, with rare existing granny flat. Now, recently, granny flats have been changed. The policy, they've made it so that permits aren't really required in most instances as long as some key criteria are met. But to have an existing granny flat, that increases your yield, your cash flow by $100 to $300 a week. And that is amazing, especially if down the line, you can also subdivide that property. So this suburb, since it's been bought, has grown $50,000 in 5 months. Now, I don't want to create any FOMO. FOMO is never a good thing, but I know that there'll be thousands of you out there that are like waiting on the sidelines because you're umming and ahhing about investing, not investing. And once again, not to make you feel guilty or bad or whatever, but literally you could have made $10,000 every single month that you had just on the sideline. Approved granny flat will boost cash flow for years. It's a one-time cost. And this client, Sharad, who's tagged right here, hasn't even had to spend it. He inherited it because he bought the property with it already in, and it's just going to give that annuity, that passive income for years and years to come. It's low maintenance house, and there's a powered workshop. Okay, that's a bonus for the type of demographic that wants to live in this type of area. All right, so Sharad Mahajan, fantastic work. He's bought this for $491,000, required less than $100,000 to get in. $650 a week is the rent, and here is the property. Beautiful brick house, and this is what I mean here. The granny flat at the back. Down the line, he could get rid of the granny flat, subdivide this big block at the back, and create a battle axe, a driveway down the side, and make $200,000-$300,000, but not for now. Maybe that's a 5-10 year type project. Deal number 2, 6.3% yield Perth deal, rose $50,000 or 11% in 5 months. Now, generally, over the last 30 years, the average growth rate for real estate in Australia has been kind of 7.25%-ish per year. So if you time the market, as you should do when you buy a property, time the right suburb, then you should be making, or rather you could be making, more than that average growth rate in basically less than half a year, and that's entirely possible. But the way you get it, especially in hot markets, is by acting quickly. Okay, so Gurvinder here, he's bought this within 5 hours of listing, and that's really required. So for those of you who see a deal, whether it's online, offline, and you kind of wait for a few days, maybe a week, to discuss with your spouse, is it good, is it not good? That tactic does not work these days. You need to be better educated so you can pull the trigger, you can make a decision immediately because you know what data you're looking for. Rents will rise almost, nothing's guaranteed in this world except death and taxes, but the rental shortage, especially in this suburb, almost guaranteed to ride $3,000 to $5,000 in the next 12 months, and that's a pay rise for a Gurvinder. It's revised our zoning in this code in this suburb, so in the future you can potentially subdivide this as well. So it's always good to get properties with value add potential, and that comes with big block sizes. All right, so 455k purchase price, needs less than 80k to have bought this, and he did, and he gets $550 per week in rent. Block size 683 square meters. Vacancy rate is 0.81%. Brick. He's bought in Perth, and here's the deal. This is what I mean. The big backyard really helps. Not the flashiest of photos up here. That might have not helped the agent in terms of marketing, but such a hot market, things sell anyway. Deal number 3, 6.4% high yield Perth property, grows 60k in 6 months. And this is what I mean. Like in Perth, especially 2022, 2023, especially now, start of 2024, what you're finding is that good suburbs, good deals will grow $10,000 per month. So, of course, we don't want to buy at the top of the peak, and there's various ways to ascertain whether that is. So, if you're buying in a suburb that's already grown like 70, 80% in the last 3 years, like, guys, even though it might be growing 10K a month now, that you're kind of buying at the top, it's kind of more risky. So, there's different metrics by which we create thresholds where we don't buy at the top to be, benefited in the short term, but then really heavily penalized because it drops in the medium term. But you can get the sweet spot of both short-term growth and long-term consistency with the right metrics, and that's what Deepak Bhardwaj has done here. The seller wanted to sell for $46,000 high, so he actually wanted to pull out of the contract because sometimes these vendors, they're not educated in the market, and the agents do them a disservice. The agents and themselves are not educated. They just want to get a deal done because for an agent, they just want their commission ASAP, move on to the next deal. And he wanted to relist it for more than $445,000, whereas Deepak bought this for $405,000. But it's too late. Once you exchange contracts, at least for the vendor, there's no going back, all right? Especially in WA and the way the contracts are set out, are worded. So, whether you call it, $45,000, $46,000 under market value, that's one way to perhaps interpret it. But one thing's for sure, this would have got sold by the vendor and by the market for $46,000 if he had exited the contract, which he didn't. The tenant secured within 2 days, brick house, great depreciation, tax benefits, which are always a bonus. He got this for $405,000, needed less than 75k to get in, $500 a week in rent, built in 1990, so it just scrapes through to the 1987 threshold in terms of claiming good amount of tax benefits. Vacancy 0.48, block size 781, brick home. He lives in Sydney, buys in Perth, no flights caught, just like any of my clients. None of them are catching flights to buy interstate. He's built that team with property managers, building and pest inspectors. So he's getting the local due diligence done, but without having to fly there for every single property he wants to inspect. And he's self-sufficient to rinse and repeat. He's just doing this again and again and again and building passive income. This is the property right here. Beautiful property. Number 4, 8.1% high yield positive cash flow Perth property. It grows 14% or $60,000 in 6 months. So once again, I'm trying to demonstrate a number of properties to show how they are growing in Perth right now by literally about 10k. It depends on suburb, of course. 10k a month. So that's really quality, solid, high quality brick home, perfect timing, fantastic suburb, perfect execution. I could tell you right now, like a fantastic suburb to buy in. And in fact, I did videos in October, November sharing with you really good suburbs where you can get $10,000 a month. Go back to those videos and, there's free suburb advice. Who gives you that these days, right? But the thing is, you also need to execute. And I think most people are just looking out for the hotspot, but they don't know how to actually buy interstate. And you don't need a $15,000 buyer's agent to do that. Certainly Vamsi didn't. He bought interstate without a buyer's agent, saved himself $15,000 with full confidence, whereas before he had basically no confidence, right? So you can do this. You need to execute. How to buy property, although unsexy, is just important as where to buy property. All right. And the rents, once again, are going to rise to $4,000 in the next 12 months. Bought this for $435,000, needed less than 90k to get in, $675 a week is the rent. Bought this in Perth from the East Coast. And here's the property. Really nice kind of backyard here. Good for afternoon tea or whatever. Entertaining guests in the backyard. That's quite nice, quite English actually. Okay, number 5. 7.6% yield under 300k property, grows more than 10% in 5 months, but barely dents borrowing capacity. So how is this the case? Let's go into it for a sec. And I just want to say as well, Leanne knows who she is. I'm really proud of her because of the adversity that she's faced in her life, and she had the courage to say, no, despite all of that, I'm going to become a property investor. I'm going to create wealth over the long term for me and my kids. I don't care what the naysayers say, family or otherwise. I'm pointed, focused attention. I'm doing this, and no one pays the bills. No one's going to pay my bills except me. So taking the bull by the horn and really making life happen. She knows her story, and I'm really, really proud of people like Leanne. And it's going to be a big decade ahead for this location. This is not in Perth. This is in regional Queensland, and it's right at the bottom of the market. Yes, this area is kind of central to northern Queensland. It's kind of grown up by 20-30% in some cases, maybe a little bit more, over the last 2 or 3 years. But some areas haven't, and really those are the areas to target over the next, sort of 1 or 2 years to have a great decade ahead. And it's minutes to good schools and shops. So this is bought for $285,000, and this is what I mean. This is how it barely dents your borrowing capacity. You buy something under 300, under 350, under 400. Of course, it's not going to improve your borrowing capacity. We're not living in the 1990s anymore where that was the case, but it doesn't put a big dent on it. And I think, that's what property investing is all about. How do we buy high growth, high yield at the same time so that we can increase our ability to buy more and more properties? Because in the long term, it's how much assets, how many assets, how much value of your portfolio you can hold that then multiplies over 10, 20 years. If you can hold $1 million, great, that's going to multiply. But if you can hold 1.5 million, then that's going to multiply even more because it's coming off a bigger base. So that's why borrowing capacity and yield is very important. Lead at less than 55K to get in this one with a rent of 420. And that's really the amazing thing, almost 8% yield. All right, and here is the deal. Beautiful, classic Queensland type property. Some of these can be really high maintenance, but if it's been recently renovated, it has good bones, good stumps, just good roof, everything like that, then, these can last a long time. And tenants in Queensland always love these ones. Number 6, I think we're up to 7.1% yield. And $122,000 of equity growth in 5 months. 7 properties he's bought in 18 months. Now, I'm not making this up. A lot of people say that. I've interviewed him before as well, and he's like a constant overachiever amongst my clients. And I'm probably quite happy to say, like that quote I shared earlier, poor is the pupil who does not surpass his master. Rich is well on his way to far surpassing me. In 5 years' time, just check it out. He'll know way more than me. He'll be way more successful than me because he's learned and he's implemented. Learning and implementing go hand in hand to achieve success, not just learning. All right, 24% equity growth in 5 months on bank valuation. And even if that's too high, people say, hey, sometimes bank valuations are too high. Even if that's too high by 10, 20%, that's still double-digit growth, okay? Double-digit percentage growth in less than 6 months, which is, phenomenal, given that the long-term average is 7% per year. Even if it's not 24%, which the bank valuation is, even if it's 15%, that's still 4 times the long-term average because it's just in 6 months. That's phenomenal. Most properties in the same coastal pocket sold for $600 to $800. He got this for $517, and the rents will rise $2,000 to $4,000 next 12 months, and plus big depreciation tax benefits, which are a bonus. Now, think about this: 2 to 4K over the long term. Let's say 10 years, 20 years from now, that 2 to 4K, which is the next 12 months, becomes 30 to 40K. Do you know what I mean? Because it's over the next 10, 20 years, times it out. So that is how much passive income you're developing, and especially when you pay those properties off using a strategy that I've taught on YouTube, and I go into a lot of extreme detail in my course. That really helps you into retirement, not relying on the pension. Okay, he bought 7 properties, 7 times without a buyer's agent, saving himself $105,000 in the process. Okay, he would not be able to buy this property if it hadn't been for that $100,000 savings and not having to pay buyer's agents. 517K purchase price, needed less than 110K to get in. Rent is 710, vacancy 0.19, 2013 built. That's what I mean. Good tax depreciation benefits. Not that we buy for that. Like, you should never give your money to anyone who says, oh, look, tax depreciation, cash flow, that's why we're buying these properties. No, buy established, good, solid, low maintenance, high rent, high tenant appeal properties. But if you can get tax benefits as well, then that's a cherry on the cake. And good block size, bought in WA from Sydney. And here's the property. I'm sure everyone would like one of these in their portfolios. Okay, number 7, 6.1% yield, first investment property, all right, fully renovated with good tax benefits. And this is from Abhijit. You can see he's tagged here. Brilliant work by him. The suburb has grown. Once again, this seems to be, I'm not making this stuff up. I know it seems too good to be true, but again and again and again, Suburb has grown 60K in 6 months since he bought this. Low maintenance, new paint job, renovated bathroom, toilet, and kitchen. So if you're buying an established property, look for which elements have been renovated. We're looking for stumps, we're looking for roofs, we're looking for these types of things, which are quite expensive if you have to do it yourself. 3K per year depreciation tax benefit for this property. Okay, and he's bought this for 465,700. He needed less than 80K to get into this property. Rent is 550, block size is 689, brick home, bought in Perth. And look, there's honestly too much information out there. It's really easy to make mistakes, but data doesn't lie. Neither do numbers, and honestly speaking, neither do these results. So if you go for a property like that, if you go through my videos where I've done this type of episode every month for years, there's hundreds and hundreds, if not more than 1,000 deals that I've gone through. Build your trust that property investing does work. You don't have to do it through me. Just at least do it yourself, because you'll thank yourself in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, especially 30 years. Number 8, 6.9% high yield, humongous, probably too much of an adjective there, 809 square meter block property for 300K, growing every single month. He bought this once again within 6 hours of listing, beating 15 others. And that doesn't just mean, you've just paid more for the property versus 15 other people. It just means you've used negotiation, you've broken down the wall of information asymmetry between you and the agent. You've understood what the agent really wants and put up, a carrot on the stick, the right terms that are going to entice the vendor to accept your offer, even though the price isn't the best, like settlement periods or lease backs or so many things that you can do. There's dozens of things where you can entice them. Rents will rise 2 to 4K in 12 months, and he's bought well under the suburb median. Remember when I talked about not just where to buy and why to buy, but how to buy property? This is a really good example, and people aren't interested in this normally, but if you are going to be successful, because buying well under median value is one of the aspects of how to buy property. By buying under the median value, when prices rise in that suburb, there's always the majority of properties that are more expensive than yours, and when valuers come along, they see that, and that naturally creates a drag-up effect, a pull-up effect in terms of revaluing your property. Whereas if yours is one of the most expensive, and let's be honest, so many people, they're attracted to buying a property that's highly capitalized, bells and whistles, stainless steel, Bosch appliances, everything looks spick and span, but that's one of the most overcapitalized properties in that street, in that suburb. And when price rises occur, most properties are less expensive than yours, and therefore that revaluation doesn't happen as strongly as you might want. If that kind of went over your head, I've done other videos on revaluing, but that's a key aspect of how to buy properties. There's dozens of things to consider, right? And this is bought by Emily. Fantastic work, and she's tagged. You can see bought for 301,500. Needed less than 50K, all right? So if you just have 50, 60K, okay, you can become a property investor, even in 2024 when we've just gone through so many booms, all right? Rent per week is 400. And this is a big block, 809 square meters. Remember, it's the building that depreciates. Yes, the building, the dwelling itself is an asset, but assets depreciate. Every accountant knows that. The land, however, although being an asset, it appreciates because land is scarce. Land is what goes up in value. She's bought this in Queensland, from Canberra without catching a single flight, all due diligence done again and again. And data plus mentoring can truly accelerate your property investment journey. All right, you can learn this. The science of property investing is learnable. It's not just the field of experts. All right, in fact, most buyer's agents don't even know these things in the way that we buy, where we buy, the data we look at. So don't give the keys to your financial future to someone else. Don't become dependent on some random property company, including me, for every property purchase. Don't don't pay a buyer's agent 15K just to send you properties off real estate and domain that you can do yourself, or off market, which you can do yourself as well pretty easily. Don't be fooled into like buying a 2 to 3K course from some buyer's agent that use it as a lead magnet to then upsell you into their full service, because that course doesn't really work intentionally. No one cares about your money as much as you do, guys. As much as I'd like to go on my high horse and say, look, I care about you. Like, I would like to think I do, but you care about you more than me. You care about your money more than me. So therefore, no one will get you the same result that you can for yourself using education. Here's the property. Brilliant. Last one, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. 6% high yield. Huge 823 square meter Queensland block property bought with no money down. No money down deal. Zero vacancy. So zero cash needed, as all the deposit came from equity. Okay, you can do that in real estate in Australia. If you've got enough equity and enough, net asset in an existing property, the valuation minus debt, take that out. Okay, the bank will give it to you as equity and you can use it as a deposit. Therefore, you don't have to bring up a deposit, save up a deposit every time. Of course, you need to create a long-term strategy where this makes sense for you from a cash flow perspective. But if you can do it, then you can leverage, you can multiply your assets and therefore the growth much faster. Tenants secured before the property was even settled. There's a particular clause we put into the contract where it allows us to advertise, to have a for lease sign in the front yard, all this before settlement, even before we own the property. Ask your conveyancer what that clause is if you're not a client, and there's a free tip that will save you, even if it just saves you a few days of vacancy, guys. That's hundreds of dollars saved just from watching this one video. 2005 built, so there's good depreciation tax benefits. Shanker and family have bought this one. Fantastic work. To them and by them, $561,150 is the purchase price. Needed less than 120K to get in. $650 a week in rent. 823 square meters. Queensland property. 0.64% vacancy rate. And here's the deal. Beautiful. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that blue sort of garage and whatnot. I mean, it's not too bad, but once again, guys, you're not the one living in there. The local demographic, as long as they like the property and you can test that with the property manager, then you're onto something. Guys, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. That's an ancient Chinese proverb, and the same goes for real estate in Australia, at least. The best time to buy was 20 years ago. Second best time is probably yesterday. The third best time is today, and the fourth best time is as soon as possible. So, I mean, I honestly don't care if you do my course or not. You can see the results that we get. Clients are buying every single day. There's more than 1,200 clients that have bought more than 3,000 properties, saving them more than $50 million in buyer's agent fees. You can try to do it yourself, and by all means, I mean, you should have confidence in what you're doing. But if you really want to level up, if you want to take this to the next level, for free, I'll leave links below to my Facebook community where all these clients that I've mentioned are actually lurking or actually communicating, actually adding value. Australian Property Mastery with PK. There's almost 50,000 people in there, investors. And also my podcast, Oz Property Mastery with PK, on Spotify, Google, and iTunes. That's Oz Property Mastery with PK. I'll leave that link below. And in that way, guys, you can marinate your mind with knowledge, because the best investment is not in real estate externally, but rather the 6 inches of real estate between your two ears. And when you do invest in that, you invest in yourself, then the opportunities open up, then you truly become wealthy and you have that satisfaction. Yeah, I did this myself. My name's PK. Hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and thank you for watching. See you next time.